I had a couple news stories I want to talk about. This is my jammy. It's cold now, so I got two fluffy jammies. This one and the one with the penguin on it. So if you see them a lot, that's why. This is how I wake up. So, entertainment, news items. There's two of them I kind of want to talk about, so I'm probably going to ramble. Anyway, the Dave Chappelle thing. Obviously I love Dave Chappelle. I think he's one of the most brilliant people right now. I mean, comedians have always been the most brilliant because they look at everything askance and they're cynical and they tear things apart, and that's how you get to the truth. And he's just the best of the best right now. And he's done these specials and they upset certain people and it's getting ridiculous. And now they're trying to cancel him again, which is stupid. And, I have not been able to watch I don't have Netflix. I'm sure it's offensive. But the problem is the people getting offended have just gone over the top. Now, I saw on TV a clip from one of the protests. And the person who was speaking, I can't find the clip now. I was going to, I just tried to look on YouTube, see if I could see it. I'm seeing other people speak. This person said something like, yeah, Dave Chappelle, we didn't care about you until you came for our community. And, that's the problem. That's the problem with a lot of these protests and activists and all these people. And what I've seen from what I've talked about before, what's happened with the more militant members of the LGBTQ community. Now, these trans activists, like I say, half the time I don't even know if they're trans, because I can't believe the trans community wants to constantly pick a fight with everybody who isn't trans or who isn't afraid of being in a fight with them. They are in an echo chamber. They are surrounding them. And this goes with anybody who has their militant beliefs, whatever your politics are, whatever, if you are constantly surrounding yourself only with those like you or those who agree with you, then you're making yourself a little safe bubble where no one ever challenges you. And in the end, you're the one who is segregated yourself from everybody else. And you're the one who is intolerant of everyone else and everyone else's opinion. And that's what happens. And over time, you're so isolated from any differing opinions or any others, you're so isolated from that when you're in your little bubble and everything is just how you want it, and you only have people around you who tell you the things you want to hear, when something from the rest of life and the rest of the world seeps in that you don't want to hear, you can't take it. And you're so injured and you're so harmed by something that wasn't for you, wasn't something you care about, because you don't care what Dave Chappelle says. You don't care what he's doing until he comes for you. So if you don't care, then why do you care? If you're not a fan of Dave Chappelle, if you're not a fan of comedy, if you're so insulated with your group and the people who support your dogma, why don't you leave it to everyone else? Why can't you just say, okay, well, let him be whatever you think he is. Let the people who want to listen to him be whatever the hell you think they are. Why can't you allow for other human beings? Why does everybody have to be you or agree with you and do whatever you need the whole world to change for you. You need the whole world to only say the things that make you comfortable and happy. This is narcissism. This is the height of narcissism, and we're in such a narcissistic time. I said the selfie just escalated that to an enormous degree where everybody's just about themselves. Now you have these groups that are about themselves, and they group together and they affirm each other's narcissism. And it's basically, everything we do is right, everything we do is wrong. We want no part of you. We don't want to hear about you. We don't want to know about you. If somehow what you say or do should seep into our bubble, we are going to come after you and try to destroy you. We are going to come after you And these are glorified temper tantrums. This is what's happened. People have been made to think that if you don't like a thing, you're supposed to bully whoever it is that is doing the thing that you don't like and stop them from doing that. Not only stop them, cancel them. Stop them from having a career. Stop them from having a living. Stop them from everything. And all the people who like them and all the people who like their comedy and all the people who like what they're doing, they're all bad and wrong. You and your friends are the only ones who are right. You and your friends are the only ones who are good. You and your friends who are the only ones who, on a normal day, you want to have anything to do with. But, again, should you hear tell about something that doesn't fit in with the very narrow set of things that you can take in and still be safe in this world from feelings that you do not like, you're the problem. Okay? Because we're all supposed to accept each other, and most of us do accept everybody. But we don't accept you enough for you. You want us to accept every little temper tantrum. You want the world to stop for you. You want the world to stop, take your downloads into their mind, only say the words and the things you want us to say. You're the controlling ones. You're the fascists. You're the narcissists. You want to make the world in your image, which changes by the day. And we're all supposed to sit and wait for the memo on what we can and can't say today so that we won't hurt anyone's feelings. And imagine a little kid. There was an episode of The Twilight Zone where a little kid had powers and the whole town was afraid of him. That's what this is like now. I will try to see if I can put a clip or trailer from that up there. This is what it is. The whole town is afraid of somebody throwing a temper tantrum. And it keeps coming from the same group of activists. Like I said, I do not for 1 second believe that this is even a good portion of the trans community. I believe it's trans activists and people who are afraid of trans activists, or who are truly good people who just really are afraid of hurting anyone's feelings and want to just do whatever they can to make people feel good 100% of the time, 8 days a week. I don't know. Okay. Second story, Ruby Rose. Now, Ruby Rose, I don't even want to make a mistake, but I probably will, because I know she's within this community. I don't want to get the wrong pronoun, so let me check. Okay, I looked it up. It says Ruby Rose's pronouns are they, she. So I'm going to go with she. If I get in trouble, I am sorry. So Ruby Rose. I like superhero movies. This glare is driving me nuts right now. It's coming off the TV. I don't know how to not. The glare on my glasses. I don't know why it's so bad today. She was in one of these TV series that I do not watch. I watch the superhero movies. When I was a kid, I watched Wonder Woman and the Hulk and stuff like that. But I have not really watched any superhero TV shows. I think I watched the first episode of that SHIELD show. But I don't remember what it was called. The Agent Carter, she was on there. And that's it. I don't really like them. I think I have quality issues. And because I'm an old person, I still believe that TV and movies are really, for the most part, separate. Movies are still up there, and sometimes television can cross over into cinematicness when you get things like Twin Peaks: The Return, Game of Thrones, stuff like that. But when we're talking about superhero stuff, I don't have time. I never watched Smallville. I never watched any live action superhero stuff for the longest time. So I don't really know what goes on with these shows. But I did know that Ruby Rose was cast as Batwoman. I did know from, watching other fan videos, that it was an issue because they tried to make this whole thing woke and all this stuff like that. So it was already an issue. And from what I understand, the show didn't do very well. But I didn't know about all this stuff going on. So then she was replaced at some point, I guess for a second season, which doesn't make sense to me, but I didn't know what was going on. So the other day, she does this post, which was really hard to read, and I read cursive, and I write cursive. I am old, but that font was interesting, and it was harder to, somebody did fix the font, and I was like, that's worse. So I went back to read the cursive one, but screen grabs of it, because I hadn't seen the story. I didn't follow her on Instagram. I haven't been going to Instagram. She's talking about all this abuse, physical abuse, basically, in terms of having had surgery and being forced to go back, like in no time, like 10 days or something later, to do work, and all this, the ways that people were treated. And you know, this for me harkens back to the Me Too movement. This harkens back to when people started acting like Jennifer Lawrence should ask for more money because she wasn't making as much as the men. All these things. And Hollywood has always been Hollywood, and the world has always been the world. And what I realized a while back is that a lot of people, the reason why I don't have sometimes, and a lot of other people haven't, it's the main reason, is because I, unfortunately, if you remember the Authority song from John Cougar Mellencamp, I have that very much ingrained inside my soul. So I very much cannot take shit. I cannot take shit. It's just, it's like an allergy. I will not take abuse. If you treat me bad, then I'm gone. That's how I am. So that makes you pretty alone in the world. But, I mean, you have to really be mean to me. So, because part of me has always been, if you let somebody treat you like shit, then you are saying it's okay to do that. And then when they go treat somebody else like shit, it's your fault for not standing up for yourself. That's how I viewed it. And I don't know where I got that from. I know I've thought that way since I was a teenager, or before maybe, because I used to stand up for myself as a little kid. Who knows what my past lives were like. But the point is, I always stood up for myself. And in that way, you become somebody that people don't like, or people don't want to be around. So this is why I understand people who protest and people who make demands and stuff like that, but not when you go to the degree that people are going to the degree now. In her case, and what I'm talking about with all these other examples, is that to me, in Hollywood or in any profession, and this is even why we have undocumented workers, because people who hire people, there's power at play in so many things. The people who hire people, a lot of them want to be able to treat you as shitty as they can, and they want a bargain. So they'll pay you as little as they can. They'll make you work as hard as possible. They won't care about your health and well-being. That's why we have labor laws. That's why we have all the things that we have to protect people, which doesn't seem to work very well anymore. And you see people now, you have this labor shortage because people realize that a lot of the people they work for were willing to let them die of COVID and could care less, and they were paying them next to nothing for it. So people are like, well, I have no loyalty to you, because when shit hit the fan, you had no loyalty to me. So now this Ruby Rose, she is saying all this stuff, and I'm just like, you know, I've been watching movies, and I've been watching a lot of behind the scenes lately. Then I was watching, you know, after the Matrix Resurrections trailer started coming, I started rewatching some of that stuff, and you know, I was watching John Wick stuff and all this action, you know, and all these movies. I like action movies as much as the next person. You can look at my top 10 movies. There is action throughout them. Is action my favorite genre? No. It's probably sci-fi, adventure, fantasy, you know, then film noir, musicals, stuff like that. But Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, you know, Rocky, True Lies, these all have action. I mean, they almost all have action in them. What has happened, especially as the superhero movies have come along, and Tom Cruise, I think, has set a precedent of doing his own stunts, is that sometimes I watch these behind the scenes and I'm like, I wouldn't do all that. I wouldn't do all that training. I mean, you're an actor. You're there to act. I mean, some people want to do that, and it's great, and it's fine, and I understand. But the degree to which people are putting their bodies on the line to make a movie, I don't know. I'm just like, every once in a while, it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, a stunt person dies. And I'm sorry, a movie's not worth that. A long time ago, I remember when I was younger and you heard about, Vic Morrow and them kids, from, which movie was it now? I don't even remember. I know it was John Landis. Was it a Twilight Zone? It was something. And it was such a big controversy and such a big deal. Today, it's just way in the background, like this what happens, because of all these stunts. And I'm like, I don't want anybody to get hurt. Claire's killing me. And I'm seeing all this and I'm like, but what for though? Because, okay, for example, Tom Cruise hurt himself on that last Mission Impossible movie. Did I need Tom Cruise to hurt himself? Am I the biggest Tom Cruise fan in the world? No. But, he's been around since forever. Like I said, half these people, I've been watching their movies for 3 decades. It's like they might as well be distant cousins, or not even distant cousins. I don't know those people. But you know what I mean? They might as well be cousins because I've seen them. I've watched them get married, divorced, and their whole life over here and stuff, and their controversies and all the stuff they've been through. So you don't want to see them harmed. You don't want to see them. And it's like, why are you doing that? And now that's a thing he has. That he wants to. He's a Scientologist, mind over matter. I believe he wants to just push himself. And there are people in this world who want to push themselves and challenge themselves. I get that. But when you're jumping off of buildings and breaking your leg, and it's like, not only do you not have to do that, the stunt person didn't need to do that, because who cares? Who needs to see somebody jump off a building? I don't. Now, Mission Impossible Fallout, I went to that film. I sat there and I watched, and I was like, it was okay. The movie was not that good. Some of the action was good. Everybody liked it that Henry Cavill flexed. It was not flexed. What did he do? He reloaded his biceps. And, so there were things here and there, but everybody was coming, and I was kept hearing, it's the best action movie ever. And I was like, okay, no, it's not. And I had to sit there for a few days thinking about, why are people saying that this is, what have they not seen any other action movies? And I'm like, oh, they're saying this is the best action in a movie that they've ever seen, because there, no way in hell was that the best action movie. The best action movie, in my opinion, if we're talking action movie, is my number 10 movie, True Lies. That is the action movie. It is the best. It's an awesome film. Okay? Just because a movie has action in it doesn't make it the best action movie, because Fallout was kind of shitty in terms of the plot. It was stupid and moronic. But it had some action in it. Some action, like that scene in the toilet, was very reminiscent of the toilet scene in True Lies. And some of these newer movies copy from the older movies, and it's hard for me to say older movies because to me they're brand new, but so it had some nifty action scenes in it, and it had some nice staging of stuff, okay, but it was not the best action movie ever. And even if it was, I don't need Tom Cruise to break anything. Okay, so now you see all these other movies, and everybody is knocking themselves out with all this training, and then they come and they do the interview to promote the movie, and they say, I broke this, I had to do that, and, like it's some badge of honor. And it's like, you're an actor, though. You're not a stunt person. Why are you doing that? You know what I mean? You don't need to do that. And I was looking at Halle Berry's got another movie coming out now where she's a boxer. Now I'm like, okay, so now she's just going to do physical things. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. If she enjoys it, it's great, fine, whatever. But I'm looking at this Ruby Rose shit. I've been watching these action things, and I'm just like, I'm not going to notice the difference as a normal moviegoer. People who are all about action, people who maybe, I don't know, take jujitsu, or they do these things in their spare time. It's for them, and I understand that and stuff like that. Fine. To see all this, oh, look at this and look at that. When I think of great action, I think of things that probably didn't take a lot of training. Like, one of my favorite moments in any, like, moments of choreography and is in the Return of the Jedi, when Luke and Vader are fighting in, I guess it's the throne room, but they're like under and there's stairs, and it's like the music goes ooh, and they're like just going by, and it's just like really pretty. Okay, and in like the last John Wick movie, I liked the knife fight and everything, and it was really pretty. But do you have to do all? I mean, does it have to be that hard? Because Keanu's starting to look like, I'm like, this guy's taking a lot for somebody who could literally just show up and everybody would be happy to see him. They could just show up for 2 hours and, you know, play with kittens or something, and people would watch that. So now she's talking about all these injuries and stuff, and I feel like this push to have the greatest action, everybody do their own stunts and all this stuff like that, is pushing things maybe so that the studios or whatever want to push everybody beyond their limits. And it's one thing if it's something you really want to do, like I'm saying, like if Halle Berry's like that now, or if Tom Cruise wants to do his own stunts, you know what I mean? But if it now becomes the norm and everybody has to do it, and they're pushed and they're made to feel like, well, if you don't do it and you don't show up, we're going to shut down the whole show, which is going to cost people their salaries and their livelihoods because they won't have a job because of you, because you didn't show up 10 days after your surgery. I mean, that's too far. And like I'm saying, it's not necessary. For me as a film goer, I don't need to see it. Again, I like action, that's fine. But when you're compromising your stars and you don't care how much they ache and hurt, or like I said, it's bragging rights. Now I broke this, I did that, and you know what I mean? Is this movie making, or is this like a sports competition? Because that's fine. But if it starts to be that people are, if you want to be in this movie, you're expected to put your body on the line. If you want to make this kind of movie, you have to have the most extreme stunts that somebody might die. If it gets to that point, well, then that's too much, because it's not, I mean, if you watch somebody on motorcycles and stuff like that, and somebody skids on a motorcycle, or they go woo, and it looks really cool, and they weave in and out of traffic, that's there for 2 seconds. I couldn't give a shit. That has probably so little to do with the plot. I mean, I'm thinking of movies where people were on motorcycles. Like, I was thinking of Kill Bill. I was trying to think of a motorcycle movie where I felt like there was probably no stunt person. And I was like, oh, she was on a motorcycle for a second. Did it matter? No. It looked cool for a second, the end. And then things went about their business and the plot went on. So, yeah, I don't know Ruby Rose. I don't know how true the story is. The WB, I guess it is, because the WB is CW. I mean, it has to be the WB if it's DC, right? I don't understand what Warner Brothers is doing with their actors. Like I said, they fired Johnny Depp for getting abused and complaining about it, I guess. I don't know. They didn't give Henry Cavill a second Man of Steel movie. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, Christopher Nolan divorced them. I've always seen Warner Brothers films. I thought they were, you know, this granddaddy of movie studios, and, you know, something that should be thought of with respect and reverence. And yet, every time I hear about the WB, what was that guy? Ray Fisher, right? He said all this. I mean, every time I hear about Warner Brothers and these DC properties, some horrible shit happened to somebody. Or they weren't treated right. Or they were fired for nothing. Or they were like, you're being replaced because we feel like it, even though every single fan wants to see you again, you're being replaced. So, at a time when people are making all the demands and they want to be treated a certain way, like I would say, the reason I brought up Jennifer Lawrence and stuff like that, what I was saying is, they probably hired her because she was awesome, but also because she was cheap. Like, if she made demands, they probably were like, oh, she's a problem, get her out of here. You know what I mean? If, all the people who took shit on the job and now, you know, 20 years later are trying to call out people for, well, that's why you got the job, because the person who wasn't willing to take the shit didn't get the job, and they went back home, or they did not have the illustrious career that you had. You had the career because you took the shit, because there were people who were there to take the shit, the shit was allowed to continue on. And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm worried about is now going to happen with people's actual bodies, is that they're going to be compromised because it's going to be the standard. Oh, you want to be in this movie? Oh, you want to play this part? Well, we're going to tell you when you're okay to go. We're going to tell you when you're healthy enough. We're going to basically own your body. And at a time when the same kind of people would be fighting against it, it's all this power and all this stuff, and it's part of the outside world where people are trying to tell other human beings what they can and can't do with their body and their health. And it's sad if that happened, because like I said, I don't know that she was a popular choice for that show. I don't know why they did that show. It seemed like a mess. It seemed to make a mess. Now it's making a second mess because she's calling them out on all this abuse. And like I said, it seems like people, whether it is abuse or not, it seems like people are putting themselves through total hell for some action scenes that maybe aren't completely necessary. Like I said, if everything's safe and everybody's happy and nobody's pushing themselves through, injuries that are going to affect them in their old age, and they're going to be with a walker when they're 35 or something, you know what I mean? There's no need for that. People don't need to be treated that poorly. So those are my issues with the entertainment industry today. And I don't know why, yesterday I really felt like I had to say something about that Ruby Rose thing, because like I said, I kept watching all this behind the scenes action training thing, and I'm just like, it's getting to be a lot. It's getting to be a lot. And it's like, everybody would like to be in a superhero movie. Everybody would like to, do fight scenes. And like I said, I've watched them for years. And when I was a kid growing up, we watched them, and, people, had a sword and went like that, dink, dink, and it was fine. You didn't have to, become a swordsman in order to be, in a swashbuckling film. You just had to look like it because it was acting. It wasn't being, it was acting. So I don't know. I just feel like it's not, as a film goer, you can do that if you want. If you want to knock yourself out being this huge action star and you want to become somebody who could actually do that in real life, great. But for it to be the standard and stuff like that, for me, I mean, as a film fan, as somebody who's watched movies and enjoyed many movies, I don't feel like it's not necessary for me. I don't need to see Tom Cruise break his leg. You know what I mean? I don't need to see somebody get killed on a motorcycle. I don't need to see really old people kill a bunch of people constantly and have to do, I mean, you got a gun, just shoot them. Why do you have to punch them and roll on the floor? I don't know. Just, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, not when people are getting hurt and the studios are expecting it and they're treating them like property and puppets that can be discarded and replaced if they die or if they kick up a fuss. They're still human beings, and people need to be treated like human beings. And I'd like to see movies where human beings make great works of art and nobody gets hurt, though peoples were hurt in the making of this film. That's what I want to see at the end of the movie, because I guess there's no humane society for people, but anyway, I said my piece.